recent trade rumors have been surrounding Cleveland Cavaliers guard Darius Garland. Well, they now have an update that Darius Garland is actually expected to be out 4 to 5 months after a foot surgery. We're going to talk about all that and what it means for the Cavs and the offseason for him and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And about an hour ago, actually, Shams Charania tweeted out that Cleveland Cavaliers star Darius Garland underwent surgery to repair a great toe injury and will be sidelined approximately 4 to 5 months. He went on to add a little bit later that Garland is likely to miss time to start the 2025-26 season, sources said. He was first diagnosed with the injury on March 23rd in Utah and managed it to the end of the regular season before re-aggravating and playing through the toe injury in the playoffs. Now, this adds some clarity, right? When you look at Darius Garland and his inability to play at times in the playoffs, and even when he did play, how ineffective he was at times, it led to some of this that we see now. Now, with the Cavs being open to listening to offers for Darius Garland, but not necessarily shopping him, I wonder what this does to the market of Darius Garland. Does this make them more or less likely to trade him? Now, I do think because he's expected to miss some time at the start of the season, but this does seem like something that is not going to linger on. He'll be able to make a full recovery from, that it could be likely that Darius Garland is going to be given another opportunity, or that a team could still be interested in making a move for Darius Garland. But I wonder how this affects the trade market. Now, this happens amongst trade rumors that were going on and them taking calls on Darius Garland, but nothing there that was noted as anything too serious as it stands right now. But now the question just stands on, what does this mean for the future of Darius Garland in the Cleveland Cavaliers uniform? I've been very consistent and vocal in the fact that saying I don't think the Cavs should be looking to make a major trade with their core right now. I think this comes down to giving it another shot, hoping that you're going to have, better overall health next year in the playoffs, and then see where you stand. But, and shout out to Danny over at the Locked On Cavs podcast. I host Locked On Bulls. I'm one of the guys over there. But he pointed out the fact that it's not just about any performance. It's about Darius Garland and his consistent lack of availability for the Cavs that could lead to them moving him down the road. Now, he did play 75 games last season, which was the most of his NBA career. And the hope is that that's going to be trending upwards for Darius Garland instead of going back downwards. But one can't overlook the fact of, maybe getting somebody in there that also maybe better defensively, point of attack defender with Darius Garland. With Donovan Mitchell could be the better case there. You take that for what you will when it comes down to it. When you look at the playoffs for Darius Garland, in the first round of the playoffs against Miami, he only played 2 games, but he averaged 24 points per game, only 14 in 3 games against the Indiana Pacers. One of those games scoring 21 points. They went on to lose that series, of course, but I still, me personally, Darius Garland is 25 years old, and that the team was so good last year, even defensively, even with some of the lack of defense there, I still would err towards the side of just keeping him around and keeping this team relatively the same. But in fairness, the conversation could be made is that would the Cavs just be making a move that keeps them ahead of the curve if they actually make a move to move off of Darius Garland now rather than wait into something else? There's going to be a lot of movement this offseason. And I don't know if all that movement is going to lead to getting the best value back for Darius Garland, whereas you can wait. Even if he starts off next season, he's not on the floor, the court for the Cavs, but he finishes next season strong and healthy in the summer of 26. Then you, with less star movement, you could get more back potentially for him. But it's really a decision now for the Cavs, and that 4 to 5 month recovery time is going to be a bit of a struggle there. Now, there's a chance that he could be ready to go by training camp, but maybe not start off that when it comes down to it. We'll see what happens when overall, but we'll see. The procedure was done by Dr. Nicholas Strasser at Vanderbilt University. There you go on that one. So, we'll see ultimately what happens there. But, he's expected to make a full recovery and resume basketball activities by the start of training camp. That was the official release that was there, even though, Shams mentioned that there could be some doubt about his availability to start off training camp, but we'll see what happens there. Now, the question with this, it comes down to it, is that what does this mean for the trade value? We kind of talked about that a little bit. Brett Siegel, for what it's worth, did report that the Cavs plan to keep their core lineup intact moving forward, despite a disappointing playoff exit. And so if that's true, then while they've been listening to offers, they're going to keep that core, which they all have locked into a contract extension, to contracts up until that point. They're going to keep that core intact. But let me know what you guys think. When you see this, when you hear about this injury to you, does it make it more likely or less likely that the Cavs should go ahead and look to maybe move on from Darius Garland? Or like me, do you think they should hold on to what they have here before deciding to make any moves? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. We're going to have another update to another story. Got another update on Jason Kidd. This one comes from The Athletic. James Edwards III down there at The Athletic. He says, multiple league sources said that when the Knicks make an official request, which the Mavs source purportedly said has not come, that Dallas will turn it down, in effect forcing the Knicks coaching search to move on from Jason Kidd, who has 2 years left on his contract with the Mavericks. We talked about this a little bit over the weekend. I think that Mark Stein was the first one to report that the Mavericks were expected to go ahead and deny any request to interview Jason Kidd by the New York Knicks. And it is, right? They can eye Jason Kidd all they want. Jason Kidd may leverage this to get a little bit more power in the Dallas Mavericks organization, which he's done before. With other stops, is you use anything you can to get more leverage, more power within an organization. And maybe that's what's going to happen here. But for what it's worth, it seems like the Mavericks are going to deny that request and is going to now send the Knicks, who reportedly their top two candidates were Ime Udoka and Jason Kidd. Both of those, came out very quickly afterwards that if they were to request to interview the Rockets, they were going to get immediately turned down. Now you hear this about the Dallas Mavericks. So the Knicks are going to have to buck up and go start an actual coaching search, because they're probably not going to be able to poach one of these coaches. Now, for what it's worth as well, Brett Siegel continues to say this. Former Nuggets head coach Mike Malone, a champion, is the biggest name on the market with championship experience. Malone, like Thibodeau, is a very good coach, but he shares many tendencies and traits with Thibodeau. Former Sacramento Kings head coach Mike Brown is expected name out there as well. Former Memphis Grizzlies head coach Taylor Jenkins is too. Ex-Los Angeles Lakers head coach Darvin Ham, and former Charlotte's head coach James Borrego could also be of interest. There are some good coaches, all who've had varying degrees of success. The only Malone has won a championship as a head coach among that group. So, we'll see what happens there. If they're going to recycle a name, I'm somebody with coaching searches. I love when teams actually take it upon themselves to actually try to go find the next great head coach rather than just try to go after a coach that's already been known. But with where the New York Knicks are, with where their roster, all the salary and all the asses they gave up as well, I can understand them wanting to focus more on proving commodities at a head coach rather than take a shot at somebody who's a first-time head coach, and then you find out quickly afterwards that that's not going to work for you. So it's really two warring mindsets when it comes to it, but we'll see, right? I don't know if any of those guys are like huge upgrades over Tom Thibodeau. I do know that Mike Malone, of course, he's won a championship, but reportedly he initially wasn't somebody that was on the Knicks list at all. But I think what he's done at times as well, like you hope that he can come up with a system to go with Jalen Brunson and Cat and kind of take the most advantage of that. And sometimes while he has had some issues in not going deep into his bench, some of that has more so been the roster construction than his unwillingness to go into the bench. So, maybe Mike Malone can get an interview. Maybe he can sell himself there, but we shall see what happens. The last bit of news that we got today, since we dropped the initial morning episode today, was that the Atlanta Hawks have started making moves. Atlanta Hawks and new general manager Saleh are finalizing deals to hire New Orleans Pelicans GM Bryson Graham as the team's senior vice president of basketball operations, and the Philadelphia 76ers executive Peter Dinwiddie as the senior vice president of strategy and analytics. This comes from ESPN directly. Graham and Dinwiddie would report to Saleh, I believe is how you pronounce it, as part of the new front office structure, sources said. So, we'll see what happens there. These are two guys that have both worked themselves up. Graham was an intern with the Pelicans before going up to the video coordinator, coaching, and then front office roles, all in New Orleans. He became the general manager last June and leaves after being with that team for 15 years. So that's crazy when it comes down to it as well. He was under David Griffin as well there. He helped guide, and find. He was part of the front office that found Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Yves Missy, Jose Alvarado, Najee Marshall, and Jordan Hawkins. He was also part of the staff that drafted Dyson Daniels as well, who was just won a Most Improved Player of the Year award. When you look at Dinwiddie, He was an executive throughout the NBA. He's worked with the 76ers front office since 2020 after 14 seasons with the Indiana Pacers, and he played a key role in a lot of the transactions and stuff that were made down there. So that's the Hawks are making their move, and we'll see what that means if that leads to any changes here with the Hawks. One of the questions with them is that are they going to make a move to try to move off of Trae Young anytime soon? We'll see what happens there. But, the Hawks are making moves, as all front offices are, to kind of put themselves in a situation that best puts them available to win a title. So we'll see what happens with that. But those are your updates. That's your second morning update for today. I guess it's afternoon update as of this point. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I need to make a video. Maybe today. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.